fans and through and through. Oh, the Toon Review. Laughs and passion, football too. We are the Toon Review. By the fans, for the fans, through and through. Laughs and passion, football too. We are the Toon Review. 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 Go!
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review for Breakfast Tyne, your early Newcastle United morning news with myself, Paul. Thank you very much for tuning in, or thank you for watching if you are watching on a restream later on in the day. Of course, Eddie Howe has been speaking to the media ahead of the game against Brentford on Sunday. It's a game that really Newcastle United now need to win. It's a crucial game. With what's going on in the away form, etc., etc. We need to put things right. Starting with Sunday, of course, there is another international break. God damn it! Straight after this game, but as Eddie did say in his press conference, probably the games are coming thick and fast at the moment for Newcastle. So kind of benefits them a little bit more than what it does if we're only playing one game a week. It would seem like a spluttering season, but given the games we've had, then, you know, we do need a little bit of a break, obviously, to get players fit again. And those players that are going on international break, they don't get a rest. But you know what? That's what they're in it for, to play in the international level. Now, of course, the England squad has been announced this morning as well. And the big news is that Nick Pope is back in the England squad. Completely out the blue, that. I don't think anybody expected it. But to be fair to Nick Pope, he has had a very, very good season. Take West Ham out the equation. I think we all need to just forget about that game, to be honest, and talk about the plus points from Nick Pope's season, which he's been excellent. He's made some big saves. He played very well again on Wednesday night, made some good saves, controlled his box very, very well. Of course, Dan Burn back in there. Anthony Gordon's situation, we'll just have to wait and see, because he was asked about Anthony Gordon this morning in the press conference, so we'll take a look at that. If you do enjoy the show this morning, guys, please do hit the thumbs up button, and of course, subscribe if you are new to the channel. It is very important to us to grow the channel, so guys, you can help by doing that. You don't need to pay anything. It's free to subscribe. All that we ask is that you hit that I'll get my words out in a minute, folks. It's very early on a Friday morning. Just hit the notification bell so you never miss any uploads from us in the future, or live shows for that matter. Right, let's start and look what Eddie Howe had to say. He said about Sunday, it's going to be a tough examination of our mentality and our ability to defend. I see this game as a great opportunity to show what we can deliver away from home. We know there's pressure on us, and we know our away form hasn't been good enough, but we're determined to put that right. Now, what you may say is, we've heard it all before. Many, many times regarding the away form. We've heard it many times from both players and manager. That the away form needs to be put right, and then they've gone out and looked awful. For me, it's a bit of a pain in the arse, because if we win away from home on Sunday, you want to take that momentum, you want to build on it. Yet there's a fucking international break coming up, and that kind of stops the momentum. But look, I think the whole importance of this game on Sunday is getting this monkey off our back about the away performances and the Premier League performances in general. Let's not just concentrate on the away form. The Premier League form in general has not been good enough this season. And, you know, Eddie alluded to it when he looked at saying if you look at the league table at the moment, we're still in a difficult position in the Premier League. However, he did then turn around and say, but this season still has the potential to be very, very special. So he's not giving anything up, and he wants to make sure that we go on a good run. Of course, last year we lost at Brentford, and there was all hell breaking loose left, right and centre. A lot of fans at that time didn't really want Eddie in charge anymore, but then we went on a 10-game run unbeaten and changed our season around. So Does this mirror the West Ham performance? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It is a very difficult game, though. Brentford shouldn't be taken lightly. Brentford are a very good side and have the potential to keep building. I mean, when Keith Andrews took over from Thomas Frank, I instantly thought, right, they're going down. I didn't think that Keith Andrews would be the manager to take Brentford forward. And certainly after the fantastic work that Thomas Frank had done, seems everybody was wrong because he's doing a very good job there at the minute. But, we're a third of the way through the season, and I'm sure he'll be very happy with the way they've played. Now, Eddie then went on to talk about Wednesday's win, of course, over Athletic Club Bilbao. And he says, we know what we're capable of and what we can deliver. We needed to make sure we responded on Wednesday. It was a really strong, disciplined performance. Now, I'm still seeing a lot of Newcastle United fans saying that the performance wasn't great or wasn't good. We were lucky, and Brentford, if they turn up on Sunday and we play like that, Brentford will win. I don't see it. I don't see it. Of course, Brentford should not be taken lightly or go into that game with the age-old attitude of, well, you know what, we play well, we win this game, because that doesn't work all the time, and certainly not in the Premier League at all. So what we've got to do is we've got to go and be very professional. And I think that's what Eddie is looking for from the players. Play well and win the game. Hang on a minute. Just Thomas. Paul, sorry about my comment last week about being a shopping channel or sports channel. You guys do an incredible job. Tom, it's fine, matey. Don't worry. It takes a big man to apologise. And you know what? You're welcome on this channel, Thomas. Don't you worry about that. Thank you very much, matey. And apology accepted, mate. No problems at all. Let's just get on with life. So yeah, I feel like the performance on Wednesday, Eddie kind of sees a different game to us as fans, doesn't he? I mean, he'll always, when we win games, he'll produce a comment or two about being very, very disciplined, a good game kind of thing. We necessarily as fans don't see that, but from a tactical point of view, Eddie does. And I suppose we've just got to put our faith in Eddie and say, look, there you go, Eddie. There you go, guys. This is what Eddie Howe provides, and he provides a different sort of tactical opinion to what we fans see in the stadium at the time. Although I did think it was a decent performance. I thought we were scrappy in places, absolutely, especially first half. But second half, we got going, and that was more like the old Newcastle's, for me anyway. But look, Brentford is not going to be easy. It's another away Premier League game. We haven't travelled well this season or for some time now. But like he says, it's our chance to put things right, and we need to put things right. Now, Anthony Gordon. Everybody's wondering about Anthony Gordon. Eddie said, we don't think it's a serious injury. We're going to get him scanned and we're waiting the results. There's every chance he might miss out on Sunday, but we'll give him every opportunity to be fit. I don't know about you guys, but when he says things like that, I just think, Eddie Howe, man, why are we going back to this, giving him every chance to be fit? It was clear on Wednesday night that he was suffering with a hip injury. Now, what I would do is I'd use this as an excuse to take him out of the firing line for a few games. Just take him out. He was mentioning about going away with England as well, and he said, we'll England will probably assess him, so he'll still go away. They'll assess him. We'll be in contact with them as well, and we'll see what happens. I don't get that, folks. I mean, are we not going backwards here when we're talking about players who were injured? He was clearly unfit on Wednesday and still played the game. Now, is this more of the player telling the coaching staff that he's okay to play when realistically he's not? Because we've seen that before. And then Gordon, who hasn't been right in the Premier League for a long time. Now, obviously got a hip injury with England, granted. But I'm still not subscribing to this, and I said this on the live show last night. I am not subscribing to Anthony Gordon being injured and blaming that on his Premier League form when he's been performing in the Premier League. You can't do that. You simply can't do that. It's either he's injured or he's not. So when Eddie turns around and says, we're gonna give him every chance to be fit, I don't want him to. Right? I think Anthony Gordon needs to sit out. I don't think he's been good enough. And if there is even an inkling of an injury there, you don't play him. Just don't. We've got players on that. Harvey Barnes can play there, no problem at all. Harvey's been decent this season. He will want to improve his Premier League stats as well, by the way. I think it's 15 games he's gone without a contribution, so he will want to put things right. I'm not even going to entertain Elanga on the left because Elanga's just... I am really on the fence about Anthony Elanga at the minute. I don't think he's going to be what we hoped, but I hope he proves me wrong. Kev speaks about Elanga here. Brentford away could be quite a good game for Elanga. The way Brentford play could give him more opportunities than he'd get going up against a team that sits deep. Yes, but then again, you know, he's had a chance against teams that have done that this season and hasn't performed. I mean, Barcelona was the only game that I really looked at and thought, yeah, there's a player in there. There is a player in there, but that is the only game I have seen where I've sat and looked at Anthony Elanga and thought, yeah, not too bad, not too shabby. Let's see what he can do. But I don't know. Chippers says, I sadly think Gordon is only bothered about playing for England. Well, something's not right, Chippers, to be honest. Something is not right when it comes to Anthony Gordon. Now, to be fair to Alex mentioned this a week or so ago when he was talking about that's not his opinion, but is it because maybe he's got a bit of an ego and thinks that the Champions League he can turn up, etc., and the Premier League's just run of the mill. Now, from all the interviews that Anthony Gordon's given in the past, you think, well, no, he's got his head screwed on. He seems like a really good lad, and certainly not want to have an ego or a big head or anything like that. But you look at his body language sometimes, and you think, does he walk around thinking I'm too good for this? Which is crazy because the Premier League is the pinnacle, is the best league in the world. So, yeah. Andy says, curse of the headbands, Gordon, Elanga and Maxi, they should be banned at Newcastle. Hey, that's not a bad shout. You know, when you look at them, Gordon, Elanga and Maxi all with the headbands on and stuff like that. Hey, I tell you what, could it be? I mean, as daft as it sounds, take the headbands off, get your hair cut and get on with the football. Ricky says, only if we had managed to sign Ekitike and Mbeumo would we be top 5. I think... You know, as I sit here now and speak to you guys, right, I do genuinely think that maybe top 4 is going to be a hell of a push for us now, given the start we've had. We are going to have to go on one monumental run. Now, can we do it? Yes. Yes, we can. We can go on that monumental run, absolutely. But with all the games that we've got to play, I don't know, guys, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure where... where Eddie Howe at the minute believes we can finish, or he'll want to finish as high as possible, obviously, and go on a great run. But can we realistically do that? I just can't see top 4 at the minute. I think we've lost too many points already. You know what the Premier League's like. If you drop a lot of points at the start and you're playing catch up, it is so difficult to get going again. It is scary. It is scary. Andy says that's because you have no hair. Well, yes. I can't argue with that. I would have hair if I grew it. Not the kind of hairstyle I'd want, but I can still grow plenty of hair. I mean, me beard, that grows quicker than what's on the top of me head. I don't understand why, but it does. Very strange. Anyway, let's have a look at some other comments from... now, he made a comment about Will Asula, which was interesting. He said it's... obviously, Will Asula's been carrying an ankle problem. And he said it's something he's been feeling for a little bit, but it's been functional. So he's been able to train and been able to play. It was getting to the stage when it was affecting him a little bit more. He had a scan and we were waiting the results. Tied in with the game, and the scan told us to pull back a bit. It's not serious, but we expect it to be weeks, but not any longer. So Will Asula is now out on the sidelines. So again, weeks. How long does that go? You know, how long is weeks? Because many times we spoke about, you know, injuries with Newcastle United, and when Eddie's quoted weeks, it's turned into months and months and months. However, hopefully this is just a little bit of a knock that he needs to rest for a bit and get back on the pitch. But what it doesn't do is make anything easier for Eddie Howe with Wissa's condition at the minute. But he did update us on Wissa. and he said he's working well. He's on the grass and he's building his fitness. The knee is feeling good and there's no problems with that. It's more a case of looking at his fitness and sharpness and all the things he's going to need to put together. He's in a good place to kick on and push his body. We need to give him time to get robust enough and be in a position to give his best for the team. I'm sure he'll be worth the wait. So, if you deem what Eddie Howe says there, then he's nowhere near ready yet. Which I find a little bit strange because I'll tell you why. Because he's been in the Premier League, right? I know he's been injured for a while, but he's been in the Premier League. He knows how robust the Premier League is. He knows the pace of the Premier League, all that kind of thing. So I do necessarily think that we could get him back a little bit sooner than what maybe Eddie is saying. Now, that's just me and my opinion as a fan. I know nothing about the medical side or anything like that or the fitness. But, when you've played in the Premier League, you know the speed of it, you know how tough it is. But he's talking there as if he needs to gain stuff. I find it a little bit weird. However, there was a good point made on the show last night. I can't remember who said it, but, are we holding back on Wissa? Because are we holding him back until the very last minute to say to Congo that he's not fit enough to go at the African nations? But if that was the case, then we're not going to see Wissa till early December, which is madness. We need him now. And Eddie did state that in the conference this morning. He said, we bought him as a here and now player and we need to have him on the pitch. But he's in a bit of between a rock and a hard place to make sure he's fully fit. It's a strange one for me, guys. I honestly, I just want to see Wissa back on the pitch, and he's training now. There was rumours yesterday that his knee was still swollen, but Eddie cast that off this morning, well and truly, saying that his knee's fine. He's got no problem with his knee. It's all about fitness now. So I don't know how long that's going to take him. Jack says, Paul, do you think we have underdog syndrome? We seem to mostly only perform in the big matches against the big teams. We still have that small club mentality, so we feel more pressured against shite. Jack, I think it's been going on a long time, mate. I don't know whether it's underdog syndrome or what. I don't know the reasons, and I'm sure Eddie Howe would love to know the reasons as well. But unfortunately, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Darren says we don't know what we're going to get from Wissa. He might end up being a flop. Not sure. Feels like a panic buy and overpaying for him. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Simply because he was brilliant in the Premier League last season. He was absolutely fantastic, and I think there's definitely a player in there, and he definitely can help us. But you're right. If he starts as slow as Alanga's started for us, then we're in big trouble. And the workload on Nick Voltemata is just going to go higher and higher. So there's really, and as Jay says there is so much expectation on Wissa. The pressure's on him the minute he pulls on the shirt, let alone the fact he's wearing the number 9 shirt. But the pressure to perform and get results is going to be massive on him as soon as he gets on the pitch. It'll be none of this, we need to give him time because he needs to perform straight away. But I like Wissa. I think he's a good player. I think he's come on leaps and bounds in the Premier League from when we first saw him. And he's a dangerous player, somebody that we need in the penalty area, without a doubt. And I think he will do a job for us. But it's getting him on the bloody pitch. Time is ticking here, and we can't keep relying on Nick. Again, it was spoken about the chances that we create for Nick Voltemata are few and far between. He doesn't get the service that he should. And Eddie kind of agreed with all that. And I mean, he's not going to say no, is he? Because we can see just as well what goes on the pitch. And he was asked the question, about the wingers and the fact that Jacob Murphy seems to be the only one with contributions. Is it a worry that your other three are not providing goal contributions? And he admitted it was a worry. And it'll be a worry to him, but it'll be a worry to the players themselves, hopefully. We're talking about Anthony Gordon having a bit of an ego or whatever, but hopefully he will know that he hasn't been good enough in the Premier League. Harvey Barnes will know that he needs to start up in his game, and certainly Alanga will. So let's just hope that they can get together and sort it out and start performing. Now, Lewis Hall, who did come back, And everybody I think is itching to hear the answer from Lewis Hall and what he's going to do. You know, is he going to drop Dan Burn? What will he do? He said about Lewis Hall, he's closer to a return to the starting 11. I thought it was a really good cameo from him. We have to remember he's had very limited training time, so I have to be careful with him. He's very much in my thoughts because of the quality of player he is. He had a difficult period with injury. He's such an important player and we need him fit for the long term. Now, what he did say as well, added on to that Lewis Hall situation, is that the hamstring injury that he picked up was not as serious as the one that he was out for the end of last season. But they do need to keep an eye on him. And I tend to agree with Eddie on this one. You know, the player that Lewis Hall is, we need to keep him fit. We need to keep him right and make sure that nothing happens to this kid. Because we saw on Wednesday night in the half-an-hour cameo he played just how influential he can be for a left winger. Now, he was then questioned about the Dan Burn situation, and you know, when Lewis Hall comes back, he's the out and out left back. What do you do with Dan Burn? And he kind of listen. He won't turn around and say, "Well, Dan Burn's not going to play" or anything like that. He says the competition for places is fantastic for the defence. You know, and Dan can. The good thing about Dan Burn is he can play left back, he can play centre back, and he said he's done very, very well at left back. So, in Eddie's land, in Eddie's world, Dan Burn is a perfectly good replacement at left back. Now, I thought Burn played very well on Wednesday without having to do too much defending, of course, but. He simply, you know, when you look at the defenders who are going to be available, hopefully after the international break, right? Your back four, your mainstay back four, surely to God has to be Tino at right back, Hall at left back, and Chow and Botman as centre backs. It has to be. That has to be the back four for Newcastle United, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, hopefully Eddie knows that, and that Burn will still play games. Of course he will. We've got loads of games coming up, and we need everybody to take part. We need everybody available when the squad rotates. So it's not like he's not going to get any games. But you, me, everybody looking at that Newcastle United lineup would certainly say Tino and Hall at full backs, Botman and Chow in the middle. There is no compromise on that. That is our best defence. And with Hall and Livramento, we then can hopefully get overlaps going on, get more balls into the box for the likes of Wissa and Voltemada. So it has to be, guys. The opinion on Eddie, I mean, if Eddie kept playing Dan Burn and dropped a Botman or dropped a Chow or kept Lewis Hall sitting on the sidelines, I mean, for God's sake, I mean, it's not even worth thinking about, to be fair. It really isn't, because he'd get so much flack for that. And like I said, Dan Burn can come in and step into a game when he's needed. And when rotation starts or injuries happen, which we will get. We'll get injuries, we'll get suspensions. But then knowing that we've got players that can step in. But if he keeps Lewis Hall out of the side because of Dan Burn, I think that becomes a serious problem. A serious problem. Because he's our left back, Lewis Hall, and Dan Burn isn't. It's no disrespect to Dan Burn. I love Dan Burn. I love I love his passion for the club. I love everything about him, what he does on the pitch, what he does off the pitch, etc. But we have to play our best players. It's as simple as that. And look how good our back four would be with those guys in there. Jay says, when was the last time Wissa played, by the way? Nearly 6 months. Yes, pressure on him. Returning with not a lot of service from underperforming low XG wingers. Well, he did play for Congo. That's where he got injured. The first international break was where he got injured. So he was training and he was playing games, but he got injured. So obviously didn't play for Brentford, but he did train. And did play for Congo. Alan says Alanga has got to start performing well. At the moment, he's an expensive flop. Gordon couldn't hit a cow's ass with a banjo. Hope he comes back a better player. Voltemada gets a little service. Exactly. Dev 88 says Byrne definitely needs to be a bit of a rotation player. He's 32 or 33 now or something. Yeah, he has to be. And again, without any disrespect to Byrne, there is better players who are going to be available very, very soon. Touch wood, of course, because we don't know what's going to happen on the training pitch or anything like that. But for me, he's got to. He's got to. But there you go, guys. That is the crux of the press conference this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. We are back at 7 o'clock again live. Don't forget, with the preview for the Brentford game. We'll look at Brentford's form. We'll look at our form. We'll look at the injuries. We'll look at starting lineups, tactics, etc. And, of course, score predictions. So make sure you're with us from 7 o'clock for that. Big congratulations to Pope, Byrne and Gordon, again obviously named in the England squad. We'll see what happens with Anthony Gordon on that one though. But that is it for now. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, folks. Have a great day. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Come back and check out the green.